Hello everyone and welcome along to this week's Golf Show, Betfred's review and preview of all the action on the European and PGA Tours. And once again, we're in the company of former professional turned top tipster, well almost, with Jordan Spieth last week. It is Simon Dyson, and it was close, wasn't it, Simon? Your nap, Jordan Spieth, just denied by Jason Kokrak in last night's Charles Schwab Challenge in Texas, lost out to the 45-1 shot, who's making a bit of a name for himself this year on the PGA Tour. It was one that got away, wasn't it? 3 over par in that final round.
It was, and do you know what? That's exactly what he will be thinking, Spieth. I let this one get away. Shot 3 over, lost by 2. You know, for the standard that we've been seeing Spieth in, the form that we've been seeing him in the last few months, he will be disappointed with that. I'm sure that is definitely one that got away. I mean, you know, for someone like Spieth to only have to shoot level par on the final day to win a tournament, you'd literally put your house on it, wouldn't you? So a bit disappointing that he couldn't get the win for himself and for me. You know, I'm thinking for me more, but
he doesn't need it.
Do you know what? He's playing great. He's playing great. He's giving himself chance after chance, and he'll learn from it.
Yeah, that's what makes it all the more surprising, I guess, because once Sergio fell off early doors, it was only really Kokrak to beat, and he's had 7 top 10s in his last 10 events, I think, going into this week. Another top 10, of course, with the second last night. I guess it just goes to show that there is still some improvement. That'll be encouraging for him going into the next few majors. They can still get better, but he is managing to score now. Yeah,
he is. You know, I think he's possibly his driver let him down a little bit yesterday. You know, he's still. I watched some of it, and I watched the highlights this morning. He still hit some beautiful shots, but you know, once somebody gets the nose in front, like Kokrak did, you know, you're playing catch up, and he just played pretty steady golf. Did Kokrak? Didn't do anything spectacular. Hold the putts when he needed to. Big putt on 17, and then it forced Spieth to really attack at the last, and we saw him in the water. So that's what pressure does for you. But good win for Kokrak, though.
Yeah, we've got to talk about the winner. He finally got his first win, didn't he, in the CJ Cup in October. I think that was his 233rd start on the PGA Tour. And now he's a winner again. So no doubt that would have helped him going into yesterday. And in fact, the last 36 holes against Spieth with the home support there, he did really well to grind it out against him.
He did. And he mentioned it in his interview, didn't he? How, you know, he knew and he felt that the majority of the crowd were rooting for Spieth, which they're going to, aren't they? So that must be quite difficult to play against. It's almost like playing away from home in football, isn't it? It's quite difficult when the crowd's on the other guy's side. But he handled himself really well. And, you know, keep holding those putts, keep knocking it close. It's the only way to silence the crowd. And he did. You know, the putt he held on 17, there was hardly anybody clapped for it because they were obviously gutted, but that's the best way to silence them.
Yeah, the putting has been the key thing for him, hasn't it? Because we've known him over the years, he's been brilliant tee to green, but he was 7th strokes gained putting last week. I think he's actually 7th for the full year as well, having averaged over the last 9 years or so he's had his card, 124th in that category on tour in putting. So he did switch to a longer putter. He talked about that this week. Last year, I think a 36-inch putter now, and he's getting his caddy to read the greens as well. So it looks like that's made all the difference.
Yeah, and do you know what? It is as simple as that. Nothing else will have changed. He'll have got a putter in his hand, started rolling it good, confidence is high. That's a big jump, 120th to 7th, you know. And it's, like you said, we've always seen his very good tee to green. And when he does get the putter working, he's up there. So that little slight change in just trying something different, it's obviously working for him. And like you say, second win of the year.
What do you make of caddies reading the greens of players? We've seen it often, haven't we, down the years, some with success. I'm not sure quite how I feel about it personally. I think it's a skill yourself, isn't it, to read the green, but your caddy is there to help you through the course, and it's certainly working for him.
Absolutely. And do you know what? Sometimes it's nice to refer to somebody else. Sometimes you just don't see the line. You know, you could get behind a putt and you see it straight away, or you could get behind a putt and just think, I've got an idea, but I'm a bit uncertain. Then that's when you bring the caddy in. It's when the caddy tells you something totally different to what you think, that's when it starts messing up. But his caddy is clearly a very good green reader, and they'll have worked at it and they'll have figured it out that his caddy probably reads the greens better than he does. So why wouldn't you let somebody else do it who is better at it than you?
Yeah, he's a former player on the Corn Ferry Tour as well, so certainly got plenty of experience in tournament conditions, reading those greens. Was there ever an instance, I wonder, with you and one of your caddies, Simon, where maybe they got it right, you got it wrong, and you had to save face a little bit?
Never, no. Do you know what? I was always pretty quick reading greens. As soon as I saw a line, you know what, it wasn't always right, but if I believed it was right, I kind of went into the putt a bit more confident in it. I was always pretty decent at reading greens, so there was only a few occasions where I actually got my caddy in to help me out with it.
Okay, well, one man who's very good at reading greens is Ian Poulter. He played well, didn't he, last week, finishing tied for third in a Ryder Cup year. Perhaps no surprise that we're seeing Poulter show some form. I think he's 17th in the world points list, so he needs a pick at this stage, although if he keeps playing like this, he won't. And even if he does manage to stay out of the places, I'm sure he will get a pick from Padraig, won't he? Because it's hard to see him out of that team.
Yeah, it is. You know, he's such a influential figure in the European Ryder Cup team and obviously with it being in America, it's quite daunting playing in front of their crowds. It wouldn't faze him one bit. It'd almost bring the best out in him. You know, great to see him finish third. He pulled a lovely putt at the last to get that third place, having not made a birdie in the first 14 holes. So it was a nice way to see him finish. And yeah, you know, anybody who wants the best for the European Ryder Cup team will want somebody like Ian Poulter in it.
Yeah, cannot wait for that. Only a few months away. Right, let's look at the European Tour event we had as well, the Made in Himmerland, the old Made in Denmark, and it was won by the defending champion, Bernd Wiesberger, at 21 under par, a 5-shot victory for the Austrian who went wire to wire. It was very impressive, Simon.
Very impressive. Very. I was watching the highlights this morning and he looked as confident on that final day as I think I've ever seen him. Really did. Was swinging with authority, just kind of taking the shots on. And he hit 5 birdies in the first 6 holes on the back 9. You know, great shot into 10. And it was just really impressive golf. And, you know, he's as good a front runner as there is in the game, I would say. Not just Europe, in the game. You know, his record now over the last few years for his wins is as good as anybody's. And, you know, he's a great lad as well. Great player. And it's good to see.
Yeah, I was looking at his record this morning. He's sneakily, I think, one of the best players the tour's had in the last decade, because nobody's won more in the last couple of years than him on the European Tour. He's won 4 titles since 2019. He's got 8 titles overall on the European Tour, and he's lost 3 playoffs. So it's some record, isn't it?
Some record. You know, like I said, once he gets his nose in front, he doesn't know how to kind of back off. And I spoke with his coach last night after they'd won, Stuart Morgan, and we were just talking about what they changed, and they found something at Kiowa that he needed to improve, and it was more mindset and letting him just kind of go and play. You know, you've done the work, you need to go and play and stop thinking about scoring. I think he was a bit scoring obsessed. So, and Stuart told me that he's literally a major away from the Hall of Fame. So, you know, that shows how good a player he is, and who's to say he's not going to win a major.
And he's starting to dream about the Ryder Cup as well, making his debut this year. I think he's 6th on the European points list, so not currently in, but very close. And he's got every chance as well, because if he can keep this form going throughout these big European events we've got to come, who's to say he won't make it?
He'd be a great asset for the team. He really would. I think it's only a matter of time before somebody like Bernd plays the Ryder Cup. So I'd love to see him play it this year. And I think he thoroughly deserves it.
Okay, well done if you're on him. He was the 20-1 second favourite in the market. I think he's pretty easy to find, and good to see him back in the winner's circle. Anybody else catch the eye? Simon, we had Guido Migliozzi doing very well again, second again, the young Italian, already a couple of wins on tour for him, surely more to come. We had Richard Bland play well again, a winner event, of course, the Betfred British Masters. I wonder if the freedom of winning and getting his exemption will just lead to more victories, or at least great performances from him going forward.
Yeah, I would say so. The relief of that win will be huge. And you know what? We looked at the course, and it didn't really suit one specific type of player, but it wasn't that long. You know, if Blandy was going to do well in any type of tournament, it'd be this type, on this type of course. You know, Dave Horsey did okay. It's his kind of course as well. So yeah, just, you know, we kind of talk about the other players, but I just think you can't not speak about Bernd and how just impressive that was, wire to wire. It was a really, really impressive performance by him.
Yeah, certainly was. He might well win again too. Right, let's look ahead to this week. And first of all, on the PGA Tour, we're off to Jack's Place. It is the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village. It's a big event, isn't it, Simon? It's well established, one of the 5 invitational events now on the PGA Tour. So that means you've got a reduced field, 120 players, more money, more prizes up for grabs in terms of the points. And you've got a great lineup as well. 7 of the top 10 in the world are in attendance.
Yeah, great lineup. You know, great tournament. You always look at the tournaments that the legends of the game put on, you know, like the Arnold Palmer and then the Memorial. And they always get the good feel because they've earned the respect. They've always played them at really good courses, good times of year, good purses. They're always going to draw a good crowd. So great event though, Muirfield Village, great golf course. It will be one that I'm really looking forward to watching.
Yeah, you want as a player, don't you, on the 18th green, once you've holed out, to see Jack Nicklaus there waiting to shake your hand. It's probably one of the best feelings in golf.
Probably one of the best feelings, like you say. Yeah, definitely. That, and obviously when Arnold was around, and then Tiger, you know, you've got the best players to have ever played the game. So the fact that they're shaking your hand is to congratulate you on winning their tournament must be a really special feeling.
That and winning at St Andrews, obviously.
Obviously.
Thought I'd get that in there. Right, let's talk about the track, shall we? Last year we played it back-to-back in consecutive weeks. We had a new workday event won by Colin Morikawa at 19 under par. And then a week later we played this, the Memorial, which played a lot tougher. Jon Rahm was the winner, you may remember, at 9 under. I think only 9 players finished under par for the week. It was very interesting how they changed it, probably because they had such a stark contrast week to week. They wanted to make it different and make the more prestigious event probably mean more and be harder, Simon. But we're in the dark really as to how it'll set up this year.
Yeah, I really hope they set it up like they did last year with bringing the fairways in, growing the rough up. It was quite windy as well. But, you know, Jon Rahm, I think he literally dominated the tournament, didn't he? I think we were speaking, he was 8 shots clear at one point. So, you know, it's one of those courses, you kind of got to do everything well. A typical Jack course, you've got to get it in play, ready for the approach. Scrambling, you're not going to hit every green, so scrambling's going to be important. And Rahm, you know, ticked every box last year, and it was a very impressive performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. And the scrambling was key, wasn't it, on that final day, because he had a chip in, which he thought was for birdie. A great reaction from the Spaniard after that. They eventually told him after the tournament it was for par. It didn't matter in the end. He won by 3 shots. But yeah, you might need to see that this week once again. If the rough is up, as I say, it's all about whether they set the course up difficult, because we've seen mid to high teens win this before. But if it's tough, if it's firm, if it's windy, it could be completely different. So it's tricky to know who to pick, isn't it?
It is. And I think they'll have been really happy with how the course was set up last year. So my picks are kind of going to be as though they've set it up exactly the same, where, you know, keeping it in play, positional play is key.
And I wonder, with the US Open being in a couple of weeks as well, maybe that is a reason why they would set up a bit more difficult to get the players ready for that.
Yeah, you'd hope so. You hope so. Fingers crossed anyway. Otherwise, my 2 are going to bail.
Okay, we're recording this early on Monday, so we haven't got the betting just yet. But how many picks have you got, and who's the first?
I've just gone for 2, but I'm assuming my first pick's going to be bang up there as one of the favourites, and I'm going to go with Jon Rahm again. You know, he won it last year. He's had 5 top 10s in his last 7 events. He's playing really nice. I always talk about Jon Rahm and his swing, and I just can't ever see much going wrong with it. You know, he's long enough to be able to kind of get the ball in play. He won't need driver everywhere. You know, it's 7,400 yards. If it is firm, It's going to be a lot of 2-irons, going to be a lot of 3-woods. Just get it in play. Typical Spaniard, you know, he knows how to get it around the golf course. You know, his short game's good. There isn't a part of his game that you kind of look and think he needs to work at that. So I'm going to go with Jon Rahm, and he's going to go back to back.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, it was great last year. I think he got to the world #1 spot, didn't he, for the first time when winning as well. So great memories from him. You know, it feels like he's had a bad year, but he was 8th at the PGA, he was 5th at the Masters, 9th at the Players. I think he's only missed 1 cut since last June. It just shows you the standards that he set, because it feels like unless he wins 2 or 3 times, it's not been a good year for him now.
Well, that's it. If we were looking at, say, somebody like an Ian Poulter, and he had the record that Rahm's got, you'd be like, God, he's playing really well. But because it's Jon Rahm, and he's not featuring in the last group or last 2 groups, you think he's not actually doing much. But, you know, like I said, 5 top 10s in his last 7 events. He's clearly playing well, and you only need something to click. And with him winning this last year, you know, we saw Bernd do it yesterday, won back-to-back, won last year, won it again this year. Rahm's got every chance.
Yeah, and Spieth, of course, nearly won at the same tournament last week, didn't he? We've seen course form be really important this year on both tours. Right, so Rahm is the first pick. Who's the second? I'm
going to go for Fitzy. I'm going to go for Matt Fitzpatrick. I just think, again, the type of course, if they set it up how they did, he finished 3rd here last year. It is his type of course. It really is. And I know his form's a bit inconsistent, but I mean, we all know what type of game this is. You go back to a course, you've got good memories, all of a sudden you find something and you're away. And it is his type of course. And his putting's probably the best part of his game, which has eluded him a little bit over the last few weeks. But again, you get on greens that you know, you can read, and it can all change. So it is his type of course, Fitzy.
Yeah, he said he absolutely loves it, doesn't he? When it's a grind and when it's difficult, he can separate himself from the pack. And you mentioned the form. He was 4th at the Heritage recently, so there are bits and bobs of form that suggest that he is close to getting another win. And again, I keep mentioning it is a Ryder Cup year. He'll be desperate to get on the team.
He will. He'll want to play it 100%, especially with him playing most of his golf in America now. You know, he's starting to get to know the courses, how they play, the crowds, things like that, getting more accustomed to it. So to have him in the team, it wouldn't faze him one bit.
Okay, Rahm and Fitzpatrick, a couple of European Ryder Cup players. Fingers crossed one of them can get the job done this week. And let's move on to the European Tour event as well. It's the Porsche European Open. And the big news is that this event is now a 54-hole event starting on Saturday, running through to Monday. And that's because in Germany, they've put the UK on the red list. So the Tour have allowed more time for the likes of the players, caddies, media, all to quarantine and take part in the event. So at least it's good that they've managed to salvage it, Simon.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We're in the middle of a bit of a run of tournaments. It's a 54-hole event. You know, a lot of the players might kind of like that. The fact that it's not a 72, they're changing it up. It's a good idea, really good idea. And at least, you know, they get the tournament played. It's on a nice course. So it'll be a good week.
It's a well-established event, isn't it? It's a prestigious event going back to the early days. I mean, we used to play this exclusively in the UK and Ireland. It was held at the K Club, wasn't it, in Dublin for years. Yeah. But it did move to Germany in 2015 after a bit of a break in the schedule. The last 3 editions have been held here at the Green Eagle course in Hamburg. And that's one that you played in, I think, 2017, Simon.
I did. It was absolutely soaking wet when I played. So it played every inch of its probably 7,500 yards. It was just a really, really tough grind for me that week. You know, I didn't used to flight my ball very high, so the fact that I wasn't getting much carry, I always had to take a bit extra off the tee. But yeah, it was. I remember it being a really nice course, lot of water. Even on the fairways there was water, but just nice course though. Really enjoyed playing it.
Yeah, I think 17 of the holes, only one of them doesn't feature a water hazard. And you mentioned the length. I think they can actually get it to 7,800 if they want, but it usually is, as you say, 7.5. And looks pretty generous, isn't it, off the tee? I wonder if maybe that's because of the length. And what would you say the key is? Would it be approach play this week? Once again, we often see it being the case.
Yeah, I think when we saw Casey won it, I think his approach play was, top of the tree. So I don't remember it being that demanding off the tee. I really don't. I think it's all about approach play and converting those birdie chances. Quite undulating greens in parts. So if you get the correct side, you're gonna have plenty of chances. So yeah, I would say approach mainly this week.
Okay, we've got a decent field, some big names coming over from America. We've seen that over the years. We've had quite a lot, haven't we? The likes of Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed coming over. I think they get at some decent appearance fees over there in Germany. And this year we've got the likes of Casey, defending champion. I'm sure he'll go off as one of the favourites. Stenson, who's hosting an event next week on the European Tour. He's headed over early. And Abraham Anstey, one of your favourites actually here as well. So good to see some big names coming over and playing on the European Tour.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to see the likes of Ansa come over. And, if they're being offered a nice few quid to come over and play, why wouldn't they? Try and, learn how to play golf multiculturally. It's good to see him over. And I think, he could have a pretty good week. It's we've looked at his approach play over the last few weeks. I tipped him a few weeks ago. He's got everything to warrant doing well this week.
Okay, again, we're recording this early on Monday morning, so we don't have the betting just yet. But nevertheless, we'll get stuck into the field and pick a few out. So how many have you got and who's the first, Simon?
I've just gone for two again. I've gone down the route of Rahm won last time and he'll win again this time. And I'm going to go with Casey as well. He's playing some really good golf. He fourth in the PGA, great result for him there. And the last two times he's played this, he's won it and he's finished seventh. He's probably playing some of the best golf of his career. And he's a bit like Bernd, knows how to win. When he gets his nose in front, it doesn't faze him at all. And the fact that he's done well the last few weeks and he won it last time it was played, I think will bode well for him. And I think he'll be expecting to win this week, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be. He's going to be very short, I would imagine, in the betting, the clear favourite. But he is the absolute standout in the field, isn't he? Yeah. I think he's ranked top 20 or 21st in the world. He came over to Europe earlier this season, won the Dubai Desert Classic as well. We mentioned his last event, fourth in the PGA. He loves this course. There's absolutely nothing to suggest that he won't feature on Sunday.
There really isn't. There's absolutely nothing. He's come over from America. He'll come over a bit early, get past the jet lag. And 54 holes. I just think, I can't see past him really.
Okay, but you have got another pick. So who's the second pick?
And it's one that I normally go with as well, because you're going to tell me what they call it in the betting terms, but I'm going to go for Matthias Schwab again.
Yeah, he's your cliff horse, as we call it in racing.
Cliff horse, that's
following off a cliff.
Yeah, just keep going with him. Because, there's just going to be a point where he does win. And, we talked about tee to green on this course. And every time there's a course that you need to hit it well, he does well. But apart from, when the putter eludes him, but he's started putting a little bit better. The strokes gained stats show that. So I think, second, last two times he's played, he's finished second and seventh. And he's had 4 top 11s in his last 6 weeks. So again, there's some form there, there's history there, and he's playing well.
Yeah, it looks a very obvious pick, doesn't it? Sometimes those don't always work out, but on paper, again, he should contend, and it surely is just a matter of time. Hopefully, it's just not getting into his head mentally now.
Yeah, I mean, like we spoke about the fact that his strokes gained on his putting has improved over the last week or two. That shows that he's actually making good progress. So I don't think the thing with someone like Matthias is he's very strong mentally as well. Very strong mentally. So I don't think it'll get in his head. I think he'll just literally carry on, keep doing what he's doing and just, trust the process of trying to improve every week.
Yeah, and we've seen it often before, haven't we? Once he does get that first win, it'd be no surprise to see him go on and win a few. He just needs to get that first out of the way.
Yeah, he does. He does. You see it a lot in golf, don't you? When they get that win and then they just crack on with it. So yeah, good luck, Matteo.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. This week is the week. Then, if it's not Casey, maybe the forecaster 1-2 this week for the Porsche European Open. Right, that's it, Simon. You got 4 picks across the 2 events. Who would be the best bet then this week?
God, it's between Casey and Rahm. I'm going to go.
Well, I think the double is going to be popular, isn't it, across the 2?
Yeah.
Putting them both together.
Yeah, I would say
each way double.
I would say that would be very popular, Casey and John Rahm.
Okay, we landed a double not too long ago, so fingers crossed.
Nice to get another one, wasn't it?
We're still dining out on that one, and we will for a long time. Right, Simon, pleasure for your company once again. We're only a couple of weeks away from the US Open. Looking forward to that as well, but 2 cracking events on tour this week, so good luck with your picks.
Thank you.
And good luck to everybody watching at home as well. So 2 events. One of them starts on Thursday, course of Memorial. The other one, though, please note, it is a 54-hole event starting on Saturday and ending on Monday. So the next time we talk, we might not know the winner, but we'll still be back here next week, as always, looking ahead to another great week of golf. Best of luck if you're getting involved, and we'll see you then.